Now, this is very important in my opinion. So the chief objective of the separation is to pursue a subsidiary initial public offering for the IoT business. Subsidiary. That means the initial BlackBerry portion owns technically that second IPO. Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well. Hope you're having a great day. In today's video, I'm going to go over BlackBerry stock to specifically go over the IPO in terms of for the IoT side of the business for BlackBerry, also potentially being bought out by another company fully, or not just one company, but other companies as well, and also what my thoughts are. I'm going to also play an analyst video that was a few years back, but it does but it does outline some kind of strategy that potentially could be mixing in well with the IPO. And that's basically it. Hopefully you like the video, hopefully you enjoy it. My thought process about this whole entire thing for the way the company's handling it, I wish they did handle it a little bit better, because I wish they provided more clarity, some kind of like Q&A conference or something to go over what could be happening. From the articles I've been reading, there is a press release directly from BlackBerry, so I'll go over that. That provides more clarity, FYI. But from the articles I've been reading, it looks like they're still thinking about it. It's not guaranteed that the IPO will happen potentially, but those are the articles. And at the same time, I see some articles saying spinoff. Spinoff doesn't seem like it would really benefit BlackBerry stock for the shareholders in an ideal way, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be a spinoff based off the press release that BlackBerry stated. So that I think is better overall for shareholders, but I'll go over that. And as well, let me go over the company being potentially purchased, and then I'm going to go over the video and then the IPO, because it strings along just perfectly after the video as well. So the first thing is BlackBerry potentially could be bought out, and this IPO does play a role as well, because separating the company, I think, makes it easier to purchase a sector of it, even though, for example, Veritas potentially offered to buy the whole entire company. I just don't think that would be able to be approved in a relatively quick amount of time, or potentially the bid too as well. I don't think the bid that they offered was enough that John Chen wanted to sell for, because back in the day, it was mentioned, would you sell it for $15, $20? It seemed like to him that was kind of low. So I don't think that any company would be offering right now, with the share price being roughly about $4 American, anything above $15, $20 at the moment, unless they increase the multiples substantially before even seeing any revenue coming in. So that's the downfall. So I have an article here. This was on August 28th though, so this is a little bit dated, but of 2023. RBC Capital Markets details BlackBerry possible new suitor. It said on Friday that shares rose. So Veritas Capital is considering a takeover bid for the company. The report said Veritas is looking to fully acquire BlackBerry, and other parties are also interested in the company. So it's not just Veritas, other parties as well. And it's just basically going through the whole entire thing in terms of IoT, cybersecurity, different portfolios, so on and so forth. Now they're evaluating the company at like $5.50 per share kind of takeover scenario. The only problem is, like I stated earlier, is that is too low compared to what I believe John Chen is targeting. So it's just, they're kind of entertained with the offer, but not like they're entertaining the offer potentially. I'm not sure, but I don't think they're going to accept it fully, obviously, especially with the IPO direction that they're trying to go with. Let me see. That's basically it for that portion. Now we have the video, which very ties in with the IPO, and then there's a end point right about here that's going to mention a big deal. So I'm going to play the video, and
why did it take
context.
you to shine a light on BlackBerry for the stock to move 10%?
I don't know if it was just me. Other people have discussed it as well. It's been out there. Some really good.
One quick context too. This is Andrew Left, Cintron Research founder. He's known for shorting companies. And so shorting a company is basically, if you think the company is overvalued, the share price is inflated quite a bit, and you can see an opportunity where the share price is going to drop. So basically, hypothetically, you borrow shares, sell it, and then buy back at a later point and return those shares. In general sense, that's very general.
Good analyst notes. What I thought it made it interesting for me is people would know over the past few years I was short a stock called Mobileye. And one of the big criticisms of my short position, and the stock was taken over, I try to learn from my failures, was that install base that Mobileye had. They were already in 15 million cars, their ability to upgrade their software as time went on, and it was that install base that meant a lot. And Mobileye was acquired for $15 billion. And if you looked at the objective reality of it, the financials, it made no sense whatsoever, but it showed you the value of being in cars and the real movement behind the autonomous movement. So now we see BlackBerry is in 60 million cars, 60.
I'm going to pause right here. So this video is 6 years old, FYI, so it is quite dated. This was before BlackBerry Ivy was announced in terms of it's a better system than what BlackBerry had back then. It was just the basics QNX before. Now it's as also BlackBerry Ivy, and I believe they're in 275 million or 255 million vehicles now, but back then they were in 60 million vehicles.
So that's 4 times as many cars as Mobileye. And then now, while they are not the chip driving the autonomous, their QNX 7.0 could be the operating platform that your car runs on, thinking that your car is a computer.
Now, this QNX, you know, is the potential game changer, you say, and it makes BlackBerry a potential acquisition target. Who might be in the running for BlackBerry?
Oh, God. I mean, anyone who has remorse that they did not get the operating platforms in either computers or cars, or it could be in anyone, like I mentioned, like an NVIDIA or Microsoft.
Now, would they have to buy it at roughly $20 a share? Is that your valuation for BlackBerry?
Oh, that's up to John Chen. I don't know. You know, it depends on what point they're going to execute. You know, I made a very interesting point when I compared it to NVIDIA, whose enterprise market cap has gone from around $5.5 billion to $85 billion, while the revenues have doubled. And the reason why is the street is giving them credit for new businesses that they're entering, let's say data center or AI, that are exciting. And it's the growth in the smaller businesses that the street's focusing on. So similarly with BlackBerry, if they start focusing on the QNX business, or they start focusing on the Internet of Things business, they can get higher multiples, and the stock will move a lot faster than the actual numbers would move.
Yeah.
So that's a key point right there. He mentioned that if they focus on the IoT business, and he's at QNX, but the IoT business, which it encompasses as well, they could grow substantially in a way. The reason why that's relevant is because this IPO does pretty much exactly that. And the reason why it's potentially, I have an issue with the articles being posted, they're saying spin-off. Spin-off doesn't really benefit the shareholders too much, but if it's not a spin-off and it's like a subsidiary, that will benefit the BlackBerry shareholders, I think, quite a bit if it's done correctly. And then if they focus on the IoT, which is what they would be doing with the IPO, again, that would basically do what Andrew Left stated. So I'm going to go over a quick thing. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier part of the video, but go to BlackBerry Investors webpage. You can see that there's a summit on October 17th, 2023, on a Tuesday at 9 a.m. it starts. I checked the agenda. I don't think that they're going to be mentioning anything about the IPO. John Chen talks the first. It's 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And he's the first guest speaker with other speakers too as well during that time slot. So I don't think he's going to mention anything. He might just talk for 10, 15 minutes and saying like welcome, so on and so forth. But I'm going to go to the press release, which is the most important part. And basically it covers what all the articles have stated. But the other articles are doing like extra speculation, right? Like they're mentioning spinoff, which I don't see a spinoff in this press release from BlackBerry, which is a good thing in my opinion, because I don't want a spinoff to happen. In my opinion, quick disclaimer, like always too, by the way, I'm not a financial expert or anything, so take everything with a grain of salt. Do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. And I also do own shares in BlackBerry, so keep that in mind as well. But yeah, so that in terms of that portion, the other articles are stating that the IPO is not guaranteed. They're still thinking about it in a way, so it's not a guaranteed thing that's set on stone. But in terms of press release, what is stated, BlackBerry provides Project Imperium update and announces intentions to separate business units, right? So strategic review of the portfolio. The board, together with its advisors, Morgan Stanley and Perella Weinberg Partners, has been evaluating a comprehensive range of strategic alternatives to drive enhanced shareholder value. So we already knew that they wanted to drive the share price up with specific strategic pathways, right? Including a possible separation of the business and a range of potential sales structures. So if they separate the businesses, I think, in my opinion, they could sell the company in terms of portions of it, right? If they were to sell one, I believe cybersecurity is the one that right now brings in the most money, but the potential is in the IoT/IV, which is growing. So based on input from the current process and within current process with the support of management, the board has determined the separating of the IoT and cybersecurity business units into two independently operated entities is the optimal strategic direction for BlackBerry, right? So that's basically what everybody's heard so far. Now, this is very important in my opinion. So the chief objective of the separation is to pursue a subsidiary initial public offering for the IoT business subsidiary. That means the initial BlackBerry portion owns technically that second IPO. Now, how much would it own? I don't know how much that split would be, but it would be beneficial for the first portion, if I'm not mistaken, right? The market leader for high performance, safety critical foundational software in automotive and other verticals, with a launch targeted in the first half of next fiscal year. So this is not going to happen until technically, so the fiscal year ends in February, I believe, for the fiscal year. It's reported in March. And so we're not going to see it anytime until the first half, 6 months after February, right? So this IPO won't happen until then. So we still have a lot of time. See how they're probably trying to see how the market reacts, if the market approves of it or not, so on and so forth. But again, they are doing this in intentions to benefit the shareholders. So that's why I'm thinking, in my opinion, that the market is overreacting, especially with the articles being posted. And I saw a video. It's kind of strange how, like, for example, some of these articles being posted are saying it's a spin-off. Spin-off would mean it's like completely on its own. And if that's the case, potentially what could happen as a direction would be it would IPO as its own company, and then BlackBerry original portion of the company, so cybersecurity, would get basically cash, right? Paid over to it as a portion, and that's basically it. That's all it is. So depending how much cash you would get, the problem is it's more projected future growth that you would benefit from that IPO. So you really would get crumbs in the beginning because there's no real growth in the beginning. So I don't think it would really benefit the shareholders currently right now, because most of them are holding, including myself, for the long term. So whatever they get right now, it's going to be nothing compared to the future, hypothetically. But in this direction, if it's a subsidiary, then that's great. That's awesome. But yeah, so there's for that portion. And BlackBerry believes that a separately traded IoT subsidiary will enable shareholders to more clearly evaluate the performance and future potential of BlackBerry's principal business on a standalone basis, while allowing each business to pursue its own distinct strategy and capital allocation policy. So like the video stated with Andrew Left mentioned, essentially, if you really think about it, that direction he mentioned in the end is what this IPO would be doing. So I think that's great. And again, they're essentially doing this because they brought in a third-party companies, Morgan Stanley and Perella, Weinberg partners. Sorry if I butchered the name, to bring value to shareholders, right? Otherwise, this direction would not be taken, right? I would assume so, hopefully. So yeah, Project Imperium objectives will continue to be pursued as the company launches activities to separate our principal businesses. Also, I think if they were to sell a portion, ideally they would sell the cybersecurity portion. If they IPO it separately, I know it'll need government approvals. It'll take some time, but that's the one I would hope that they sell, because otherwise the multiples for the IV should be coming in. When they do come in, they'll be great multiples, hypothetically, depending on how big their customer base is, though. The board and management believe that separating our principal businesses will improve our ability to create value for all our stakeholders, said John Chen, executive chair and CEO. BlackBerry, both the IoT and cybersecurity business have leading technology and talent and address large and growing market opportunities. This new proposed structure will further increase both their operational agility and ability to focus on delivering exceptional solutions to their customers. So again, they're trying to bring value to shareholders, and I think the market is overreacting with this potentially. But we'll have to see. That's basically it. Hopefully you liked the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you're wondering if I'm going to hold my shares, I am going to hold it until at least the IPO information is more cleared out. Just because we don't know if it's 100% going to happen for sure, and we don't know, essentially, how much the kickback will be. So if for example, since it's subsidiary, will BlackBerry still own hypothetically 80% of the IPO, or will it own like 40%, 50% of the other IPO? So later on, as more information develops and it becomes more clear, we'll know. But for the time being, I'm just holding, and we'll see. Again, this is just my opinion. I'm not a professional, so it's up to you on what you do. Do your information due diligence before buying and selling. And that's basically it. If you liked the video, consider dropping a like. It helps the channel, so thank you so much for that. And if you do want to follow the channel overall to be notified when I do post a new video, consider subscribing, following, to be notified when I do post the next new videos. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.